Growing up as a child, I think I always wanted to actually be a doctor. I wanted to help people. And I always loved science. But for me, the idea was the science would be a path that would help me become a great doctor. When I actually took care of patients and actually was exposed to the clinical problems, I recognized that for many, many diseases, we just fundamentally don't have an understanding of how this works or why certain drugs don't work. I really felt inadequate in providing what I felt was clinical care to my patients. When I was a resident at Brigham and Women's Hospital at Harvard, the issue was my patients were dying of metastatic disease. So I said, how does this work? What is the biology behind it? And I found that there's very little understood about it. When I came to interview here, there's this thing called the Chalk Talk, where there's a group of esteemed scientists around a table, and they ask you what you plan to do. What they recognized was inherent value in doing something innovative, something that nobody else is doing, something that is a high bar, and something that is difficult. That for me was really great, that this institution is willing to support me in doing something that's challenging, in pushing me to have higher expectations, and they're gonna financially support me to tackle this important biomedical problem. A major discovery that I was involved in was finding that cancer cells, when they metastasize, one mechanism by which they metastasize is by changing the levels of small RNAs. And we identified 3 small RNAs which are able to suppress metastasis formation. We did this many years ago, and after finding that these small RNAs can strongly regulate the progression of cancer, it opened up many avenues for us. We have lots of experiments in the works, and I do wake up in the morning eager to find out what those results showed. I love coming to lab meeting, hearing my students in my lab and the postdocs in my lab present their work and see them grow, see them start from not being experienced in this field, and within a year or two, they're teaching the rest of us about their respective topics. When I see the patients, I recognize how important the problem is and how bad the problem is, but I'm also inspired by them. It makes me work harder. And when I go into the lab and get frustrated by the time that it takes to understand how a process works, I get real perspective. I've had lots of people ask me for advice, oh, should I do this, should I do that? And I basically tell them, tell me the one single thing that you love most to do, and focus on that and be the best you can at that. And everything else will fall into place.